Think about getting out of bed in the morning, right? So it's an act of the will, unless you fell out of bed. But if you get out of bed the normal way, it's an act of the will. You're seeking a good to start your day. But see, that good nests in a higher good. Why do you get out of bed? Well, I want to get to work. Okay. Why do you want to get to work? Well, I need to make money. Well, why do you need to make money? Well, I want to support myself and my family. Why do you want to support yourself and your family? Well, supporting my family leads to their flourishing. Well, why do you want that? Because my family flourishing makes me happy. And I want to be happy all the time and in an unconditioned way. Just as the mind won't rest until it knows everything about everything, so the will doesn't rest until it finds an unconditioned happiness. Now, analyze any act of the will that way. I send my car to the mechanic. Well, how come? So the car will run better. Well, why do you want that? So I can get to work and I'll do that analysis. Or so I can get to my friends more easily. Well, why do you want that? Well, being with my friends is a great good that makes me happy. And I want to be happy all the time and in an unconditioned way. I go to a basketball game. This is kind of easier to analyze. Well, why do you want that? Well, because basketball is interesting and beautiful. And contemplating it makes me happy. And I want to be happy all the time and in an unconditioned way. See, the will, if we analyze it sufficiently, is conditioned by a desire for beatitudo. I'm using this Latin term on purpose because it was Thomas Aquinas' term. Happiness. Beatus means happy in Latin. Beatitudo is the happiness I'm talking about, which is not the happiness that comes from a particular act of the will. Like, hey, I went to, Bishop Barron's talk. Yeah, it was okay. I liked it. It made me happy in a very limited way. Okay, I'll be happy if that's true. But then, see, analyze any act, including this one, and you'll eventually get to the desire at the ground of the will for beatitudo, unconditioned happiness. Now here's an interesting thing, everybody. Prior to modernity, prior to the rise of the sciences, the principal question that preoccupied the minds of the best and brightest people in the West was the nature of beatitudo. See, what is it? So we all want it. And that's true, by the way, of the religious believer, of the agnostic, the atheist. Everybody wants beatitudo. It's the first mover of the will. So, what is it? And can I submit to you, there is no question more important than that. And see, one of the tragedies, I think, of our time is so often we bracket that question. Because we're so preoccupied with the achievements of our sciences, and God bless them, I'm all in favor of them, don't get me wrong. But we tend to bracket the question that prior to modernity, the best and brightest people thought was the most important. What is this beatitudo that all of us, at least implicitly, are seeking? Okay? And I want to give you a little bit now of Thomas Aquinas' analysis of this. You can find it, by the way, in the very beginning of the second part of his great Summa Theologiae, his summary of theology. It's interesting. Many years ago, there was a prominent Catholic cardinal who had a little quip that he often used. He said, "Good morality is like good art. It begins with the drawing of a line." Now, it's a clever line, but I think actually it's wrong. Because that's not the way Aquinas starts. The drawing of a line, like a law. I'm in favor of it, don't get me wrong. We have to get to some drawing of lines. But Aquinas begins not with the law. That happens in question 90. Question one, and here he's just like all his pre-modern colleagues. Question 1, what is beatitudo? What is the happiness that is luring our wills? Okay? So he does a kind of process of elimination. He looks at 4 classical candidates. What great people have said and thought about the nature of beatitudo. So first he says, some people claim that wealth is beatitudo. To be rich sufficiently, to be sufficiently wealthy, that's the beatitudo that finally I'm seeking. Now, is that a legitimate position? Well, in a way, I mean, I get it. Lots of very smart people have said that. And may I submit, in our culture especially, you can find an awful lot of people, I think, that hold to that. If I just have enough, money in the bank, I have a big enough house, nice enough cars, I have a commodious life, I'll be happy. And that's, in fact, what I'm always implicitly desiring in all my acts of the will. True? Aquinas says, no. Wealth is a good, but it can't be the unconditioned good. How come? Well, he says, look, what does wealth mean? He says, wealth in the natural sense means, and let me give us a quote here that makes it sound kind of contemporary. He says, wealth serves as a remedy for our natural wants, such as food, drink, clothing, cars, dwellings, and such like. That's from the 13th century, but it sounds like today, doesn't it? I mean, what does wealth give me? It's a remedy for natural wants. So these natural wants, like I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm uncomfortable. And so wealth gives me food, drink, clothing, cars, dwellings, and such like. Goods? Yeah. But they can't be the ultimate good. Why? Why? Because Thomas says those things are the condition for the possibility of much higher goods. And think about it for a second. Once you've discovered, you've found enough food and drink, you've got a shelter, you're living in a sort of comfortable, commodious way, then you can aspire to philosophy and science and friendship and conversation, these higher goods. Wealth is a proximate good. It can't be, therefore, the ultimate good. So that can't be beatitudo, what we're all implicitly seeking. Okay? Others have said beatitudo, happiness, consists in honors. Now think about it for a second. How many societies, both East and West, around the world, trans-historically, how many societies are predicated upon honor and shame, right? That the worst thing you can experience is to be shamed. And therefore, concomitantly, the best thing is to be honored. And I know lots of people whose lives are pretty much centered around the quest for honor, to be thought highly of, to be given titles and prerogatives, right? To be held up. Okay, is honor, though, beatitudo? And Aquinas says, no, it can't be. Why? Because honor, he says, is like a flag that we put on something good, noble, and virtuous. And so you notice someone who's got great ability or they're leading a virtuous life, and you want to put a flag on that to say, hey, everybody, look at that. That's worth emulating. That's honor. So think of titles and positions and prerogatives and so on. Signs of respect. They are flags of virtue or nobility. Therefore, they're derivative. They're secondary. What matters much more than honor are the things that are being honored, namely your virtue, nobility, and so on. Therefore, honor, good thing, sure, but it can't be beatitudo. It can't be the happiness that deep down we're all seeking. Okay? Oh, but here's another indication that honor can't be the ultimate good. Notice Aquinas says, who in your society is being honored the most? Are they the very best people? The question answers itself, doesn't it? Age to age. Think of the people who get the most attention, the most adulation. Are they in fact the best? Again, it answers itself. Others have said, you know what beatitudo is? It's power. Power. And again, this has a lot of weight across the ages. Lots of impressive, important people have argued for this, and deep down, there are a lot of people, age after age, who do indeed seek power as their ultimate good. Go back to the Tolkien movies and the great Tolkien novels. What's the ring? But a ring of power, right? What are they seeking? What's everybody drawn to? Talk about final causality, right? The minute the ring gets near anybody, well, it's the ring of power. It is indeed something that we all seek. I think in our culture, too, I would correlate power and freedom very strongly. For Americans or many Westerners, what's the supreme value but freedom? Well, what's freedom but power, right? Don't tread on me. Don't get in my way. Let me do what I want to do. Go where I want to go. Accomplish what I want to accomplish. And isn't it true that we hate it when people take away our freedom? I do. I hate it. Whether that's in a physical sense, a psychological sense, a spiritual sense. And so, okay, power does seem to be something very alluring. Notice too, please, so keep Tolkien in mind, but also keep in mind, in the Gospels, the great story of the temptation of Jesus. What's the highest temptation? The third temptation. The devil takes him to a high place and shows him what all the kingdoms of the world in one glance, and all these I will give you if you but bow down and worship me. It's a temptation to power, isn't it? So it is alluring, but is it beatitudo? Aquinas says, no, it can't be. Why? Very simple reason. Power, he says, is a source of activity that allows us to attain an end. But beatitudo is an end. Do you see what he means? Whatever this beatitudo is, it's something that I'm going for, that I want. It's a good that's out there. Power is terrific as a means of attaining ends. Right? You give me the power to do this, the power to do that, the power to attain. But power in itself is not what you want. It's the good that power gives you access to, right? Therefore, power can't in itself be beatitudo. Okay, so it's not wealth, not honor, not power. Here's the fourth grade candidate. And I think everybody, from a spiritual standpoint, it's a really helpful analysis. Because all of us, we're all sinners in this room, I trust. We're all beguiled by these things in some way. We all tend to mistake these for beatitudo. So the fourth one, Thomas says, is pleasure. Now, this is a very old philosophical position. It's called hedonism. And don't make fun of hedonism as just like, eat, drink, and be merry. Hedonism is a very noble classical position that says what we all seek deep down is pleasure. Now, it could be pleasure in food and drink and so on, but also pleasure in the arts, pleasure in sports, pleasure in knowledge, etc. So it can be a more refined form of hedonism. But that pleasure, it seems, is this ultimate good. It seems to be beatitudo. Yeah, it might seem that way, says Aquinas, but it can't be. How come? Because pleasure, he says, is a side effect of something much more fundamental. So when I achieve some physical well-being, I experience pleasure as a happy side effect, but it's the health of the body that's really substantive. Or when I make some great spiritual, intellectual, cultural attainment, I might feel a rush of pleasure accompanying that, but the pleasure is just derivative, isn't it, from the substantive accomplishment. So pleasure can't be it. Okay, so where are we now? We all want beatitudo. Everyone in this room, again, this is religious, non-religious, believer, atheist, everybody wants beatitudo. Otherwise, you would not get out of bed in the morning. So what is it? What is it? Well, it's not wealth, it's not power, it's not pleasure, it's not honor. Thomas says the desire for happiness, for beatitudo, is an infinite desire. Remember I said, we want to be happy all the time and in an unconditioned way, don't we? I don't want to settle for some proximate good, some limited, mitigated good. I want goodness itself. And therefore he concludes, beatitudo cannot be any good in this world of wealth, pleasure, power, honor, anything else. None of that can satisfy this longing of the soul and of the heart, this questing, this searching for beatitudo. It is only in God. Listen to his quote. Hence it's evident that nothing can lull a person's will save the universal good. And this is to be found not in any creature, but in God alone. Now, can I submit to you, everybody, this is the moral wisdom of the great biblical tradition. And the roots of this go way back into the scriptures themselves. But this is the way Aquinas analyzes it philosophically. what we want cannot be met by anything in this world. Just as what the mind wants, it does not correspond to any particular bit of knowledge within the world. The mind wants to know unconditioned truth. The will wants the unconditioned good. That hunger is at the source of religion, it seems to me. That opening up of the questing mind and heart is what it's all about.